wonder if we got bewitched by numbers. Because if you think back to that brilliant play by Terence Rattigan, The Winslow Boy, I remember seeing a wonderful production of that at the Lyric Hammersmith, I think, with Richard Gibson, the fellow who went on to play Herr Flick. And I think it's a play which is well due a revival. That's a play where a boy is accused of stealing a postal order, and the case goes all the way to the House of Lords. In today's world, it would go all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, it's not a large amount of money, but it was the principle. And I think we've forgotten about the principle, because it's the principle, it's not the £800,000 which Boris wanted as a loan, and we still don't know what that was for. Was that for more wallpaper? Was that for carpets? Goodness knows what it was for. Was it for some sort of jaunt to a foreign island? I don't know why Boris wanted a loan. And presumably he doesn't need a loan now because he's just made £5 million. He just pocketed that. Cash in the attic. But we don't know what the money was for, and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter whether it was for a postage stamp or £800,000. The problem is that, as Lucy Powell, the Shadow Culture Secretary, says, this is a damning report which makes the BBC's chair position, makes the chair of the BBC's position increasingly untenable because it throws into serious doubt the impartiality and independence that is so fundamental to trust in the BBC. So do we trust Sharp? Do we trust him more than we trusted Zahawi, more than we trust Raab, more than we trust Nadine Dorris, Matt Hancock, all these people who are taking money from media production companies while they are still sitting in the Houses of Parliament, in the House of Commons, and taking money from the public purse in order to be paid there? Surely there's an argument that if somebody is being paid for doing a second job, when they clearly are not therefore able to do the first job, then maybe they should be giving that money back. But again, it's not about the amount of money that is considered appropriate. It's about the principle. The principle surely is that if you can't do one job, you shouldn't do another. Certainly not at the same time. The Conservatives' cronyism, says Lucy Powell, is dragging down the BBC when we should be building it up as a cornerstone of our creative economy. Absolutely. And in the same way, the Department of the formerly named Department of Digital Media, Culture and Sport, I have no idea what it's called now. That original acronym, that original acronym defeated me for so long. I've only just got used to that, and now I've got to get used to something else. It's beyond me. Mr. Sharp, apparently, his spokesperson says that there was information that the committee felt it should have been made aware of in his pre-appointment hearing. He regrets this and apologises. Well, if you didn't give the information at the point when you were appointed, if you hid information, so let's say I put in a CV which is erroneous, well then surely it's an opportunity for my boss, if they don't want me, to get rid of me. That's how CVs work. That's how that's how appointments work. If you hide information, or however you describe it, then that means really the grounds on which you were appointed are questionable. Mr. Sharp may have denied wrongdoing, but can you trust him? The committee has said it's highly unsatisfactory that he was appointed. It's that his appointment went ahead with information which was relevant being withheld, significant errors of judgment. The Labour Party says his position is now increasingly untenable. I'm going to have to deal with my cat. Shh. And Laura Newsberg on her programme says today she was interviewing Andrew Mitchell, the development minister, who said it was largely a matter for the board of the BBC. I think it's a matter, actually, for the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee, because if they have no purpose, and we know, for example, that the Speaker of the House of Commons has questioned John Nicholson about the issue that he raised, that if Nadine Dorries had remained a minister, the DCMS would have reported her to the Privileges Committee for a potential breach of ministerial code. Why? Because of the tittle-tattle and apparent lies that she told at the end of a committee meeting, which were lies that she told, allegedly, about a member of the public who wasn't in a position to answer back. And that seems both an abuse of the system and an abuse of ministerial office. And yet she did a tearful announcement at her very lackluster show, saying that with regret she was going to have to give up being a member of Parliament. Well, from what I knew, she was going into the House of Lords. It makes no sense. All of this is just an opportunity to tease headlines because she is no longer relevant as a person with ministerial office. Teasing headlines and utterly incoherent on television. Though I must say, her appearance in Friday's performance on Talk TV was mildly encouraging. I mean, she looked a little bit more like herself. It was sort of fluffy, woolly, and completely vacuous, vacant. No, I wasn't going to suggest that. Not for one moment. Nadine Dorries looked like Nadine Dorries, as opposed to like a sort of concoction imagined by mixing Emma Willis and Steph McGovern.